How does a small nation, surrounded by hostility, born out of tragedy, and tested by endless wars, become one of the world's leading powers in technology, defense, and innovation? How does a people once scattered across continents, persecuted for centuries, rise to build a country that thrives under pressure, turns adversity into invention, and transforms survival into strength? This is Israel, a nation whose very existence defies probability, whose resilience is not just military, but mental, cultural, and spiritual. In this documentary, we uncover the secret mentality that built Israel's strength and innovation, the mindset that allows a tiny nation in the Middle East to stand firm against overwhelming odds and outthink every attempt to break it. From the kibbutz to the startup lab, from the battlefield to the boardroom, Israel's story reveals a truth the world often overlooks. Strength is born not from power alone, but from purpose, unity, and an unshakable belief in survival. A nation born from survival. Before Israel became a powerhouse of innovation and defense, it was an idea, a dream carried by a scattered people for nearly 2,000 years. For centuries, Jews lived as exiles in Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, surviving persecution, displacement, and genocide. Every era brought a new empire that tried to erase them, yet each time they rebuilt, not with weapons, but with willpower, intellect, and faith. When the modern state of Israel was declared in 1948, it was surrounded by enemies before it even had a functioning army. 5 Arab nations invaded within hours. The world expected the young state to vanish in days. But what followed was the first glimpse of Israel's secret mentality, a mindset built on survival through unity, speed, and creativity under pressure. Farmers became soldiers, engineers became tacticians overnight. Weapons were improvised from scrap metal, aircraft were smuggled and rebuilt from spare parts, and strategies were invented on the battlefield. What Israel lacked in numbers, it made up for in mindset. Defeat wasn't an option, not because of arrogance, but because survival was the only path forward. This survival instinct became the foundation of Israel's innovation culture. From the first wars to the modern startup scene, Israelis learned that when resources are scarce, creativity must replace comfort. When the odds are impossible, adaptability becomes a weapon. When surrounded by enemies, resilience becomes identity. Behind every Israeli breakthrough lies that same DNA, the refusal to be cornered by circumstance. The country's very birth taught its people that stability isn't given, it's created. Every generation was raised to expect challenges, not fear them. Every setback was seen as an opportunity to rethink, rebuild, and respond smarter than before. But this mentality didn't arise in a vacuum. It came from history, from centuries of Jewish endurance. In exile, Jewish communities survived not by physical power, but by intellectual and moral strength. They built schools when they couldn't build armies. They cultivated knowledge when land and power were denied to them. The habit of learning became a form of survival, and memory became a fortress. When these people finally had a homeland again, that heritage of thought and resilience became their most powerful weapon. The mind was sharper than any sword. This explains why Israel's greatest victories, both in war and peace, have come not from overwhelming force, but from the capacity to think differently. The Six-Day War, the Entebbe rescue, the rise of the startup nation, all were born from the same survival-driven mindset that sees crisis not as catastrophe, but as a test of ingenuity. In Israel, survival is not just about defense, it's about creation, the ability to turn pressure into progress. That's the core of its national psyche, a people who learned over centuries that endurance itself can be the ultimate innovation. From tragedy to tenacity, the psychology of a resilient people. The roots of Israel's mentality reach deeper than its founding. They're planted in centuries of tragedy, exile, persecution, and the Holocaust, each leaving a scar that shaped the collective psychology of the Jewish people. For most nations, trauma weakens resolve. For Israel, it forged identity. The Holocaust didn't just end lives, it rewired the national consciousness. 6 million murdered, not for what they did, but for who they were. From those ashes, one truth became unshakable: never again. Those 2 words became a national ethos, not just a slogan about defense, but a moral command to never again be helpless, passive, or dependent on others for protection or dignity. This emotional memory defines Israel's modern resilience. Every Israeli child grows up hearing stories of survival, from grandparents who fled Europe, parents who fought in early wars, or communities rebuilt from nothing. These stories don't dwell on victimhood, they celebrate perseverance. They remind every generation that existence itself is a victory. This mindset has psychological depth. It's not fueled by blind nationalism, but by a deep understanding of fragility, of how easily life, land, and freedom can be taken away. That awareness breeds urgency. In Israel, comfort is never assumed. Security is never taken for granted. This creates a society that moves fast, thinks fast, and adapts faster. Resilience here is not theoretical, it's personal. Every citizen, whether soldier, scientist, or student, carries a sense of shared destiny. When rockets fall, people don't wait for orders, they act. When systems fail, improvisation fills the gaps. When life is uncertain, people live with intensity, working, creating, debating, and inventing with the energy of those who know time is precious. This urgency drives Israel's innovation culture. Startups are born not in comfort, but in chaos, where failure is accepted as learning, and pressure sparks creativity. The famous Israeli concept of chutzpah, boldness mixed with audacity, isn't arrogance, it's survival in action. It's the confidence to challenge norms, question authority, and break barriers, because doing nothing has never been an option.
Even in conflict, this mentality manifests as psychological strength. Israel doesn't see itself as invincible, it sees itself as unbreakable. That's a crucial distinction. The goal isn't dominance, it's endurance. To keep building, learning, and thriving no matter the hostility. At the heart of this resilience lies faith, not necessarily religious, but existential. A belief that life must have purpose, that creation is a form of defiance, and that knowledge, compassion, and defense are sacred responsibilities. The collective trauma of history becomes collective motivation to build hospitals, research centers, defense systems, and technologies that protect life. Israel's strength, then, is not born from aggression, but from memory. Memory of loss and of the courage to rebuild from it. Out of tragedy, Israel forged a psychology that doesn't just endure pain, it transforms it into progress. Discipline and unity, the invisible armor of Israeli society. Every Israeli, whether born in Tel Aviv or a small desert town, grows up understanding one unspoken truth. Their country's survival depends on them. Not on politicians, not just on the army, but on the daily discipline and unity of ordinary citizens. This mindset forms the invisible armor of Israeli society. From the moment they turn 18, young men and women enter compulsory military service. But for Israel, the army isn't only a defense institution, it's a national classroom. It teaches leadership, adaptability, teamwork, and accountability under real pressure. Soldiers learn early that mistakes cost lives, and that every decision, even the smallest one, carries weight. The discipline forged in the Israel Defense Forces shapes much more than strategy. It seeps into the nation's character. It produces citizens who think critically, act fast, and collaborate instinctively. In combat units, engineers work beside poets, doctors beside farmers, each learning to trust, respect, and rely on one another. Rank matters less than initiative. Creativity is valued as much as obedience. These principles later fuel the country's innovation ecosystem. The Israeli soldier's mindset, "we find a way no matter what," becomes the national attitude. It's why Israeli startups often emerge from former military teams, why new technologies grow out of battlefield solutions, and why innovation and defense are two sides of the same cultural coin. The discipline learned under pressure transforms into civilian ingenuity. Yet unity, not uniformity, is Israel's deeper strength. This is a country of constant argument in politics, religion, and daily life. Israelis debate everything loudly and passionately. But beneath the noise is an unspoken sense of belonging. When crisis hits, the divisions collapse. The same people who argue fiercely in peacetime stand shoulder to shoulder when the nation is threatened. This unity is practical, not ceremonial. During rocket attacks, citizens open their homes to strangers. Volunteers flood hospitals and shelters. Farmers in the north help evacuees from the south. The entire society functions like a single organism, decentralized yet deeply connected. It's a culture of shared responsibility, where personal freedom and national duty coexist. This cohesion is built from small habits: parents teaching children to look out for one another, soldiers cleaning their bases with care, communities checking on the elderly after sirens. These details form the moral infrastructure of resilience, a collective understanding that survival requires discipline but also empathy. In many ways, this unity is Israel's quiet strength in the face of global criticism and hostility. When anti-Israel sentiment rises abroad, Israelis don't splinter. They double down on solidarity. It's not defiance born from hatred. It's survival born from shared purpose. Discipline and unity together create a paradoxical power, a fiercely individualistic people bound by collective duty. This is the invisible armor of Israel, the everyday moral framework that turns a small, vulnerable state into a force the world cannot ignore. The mindset of innovation, turning threats into breakthroughs. Israel's rise as one of the most innovative nations on earth isn't an accident. It's the natural evolution of a survival mindset. When a country is surrounded by threats and short on resources, invention isn't luxury, it's necessity. Israel learned early that every challenge is a potential breakthrough waiting to be discovered. This is what Israelis call making the desert bloom, not just literally, but mentally. From barren soil, they built one of the world's most advanced agricultural systems. From constant security threats, they built one of the most sophisticated defense technologies. From isolation, they created global partnerships through innovation. The story of Israel's progress is, at its core, the story of turning pressure into creativity. Every major Israeli innovation, the Iron Dome missile defense system, drip irrigation, Waze navigation, Mobilize self-driving technology, cybersecurity solutions, shares the same origin: solving urgent, real-world problems. There's no time for theory or perfectionism. The Israeli approach is build fast, fix faster. Trial and error isn't failure, it's the process. This mindset, born from military improvisation and cultural resilience, became the engine of the startup nation. The military-to-civilian pipeline plays a huge role here. Many Israeli entrepreneurs come from elite army intelligence and technology units, like Unit 8200, environments that demand quick thinking, teamwork, and innovation under stress. Soldiers are trained to identify problems, take initiative, and act without waiting for permission, the exact same instincts needed to build a startup.
But beyond technology, Israel's innovation is deeply cultural. The national character thrives on questioning authority. From childhood, Israeli students are encouraged to argue, challenge teachers, and think independently. This creates a society allergic to complacency. In Israel, curiosity is patriotic. Asking why not is a national habit. That mindset, combined with limited natural resources, built a culture of efficiency. Israel produces more innovation per capita than almost any other country because it has no choice but to optimize everything: water, energy, agriculture, defense, and time. Scarcity became a catalyst for ingenuity. Even in the face of political isolation and economic boycotts, Israel turned restriction into resourcefulness. When the world closed doors, Israelis built their own industries, from biotech to renewable energy. When international media attacked, Israeli innovators responded not with propaganda, but with progress. Every criticism became motivation to prove value through results. And while much of the world associates innovation with comfort and wealth, in Israel, it's born from urgency and vision. Technology isn't just about profit, it's about protection, survival, and moral duty to improve life. This mindset explains why Israel thrives under pressure that would paralyze others. For Israelis, innovation isn't just about thinking differently, it's about living differently. To face constant danger and still create, to carry the weight of survival and still dream boldly, that's not coincidence. It's the essence of a people who turned necessity into genius. Faith, identity, and purpose, the moral core behind the strength. For Israel, strength is not measured only in military victories or technological triumphs. Beneath all the innovation and discipline lies something quieter, a moral and spiritual core that gives every action meaning. It's the sense that survival is not only a right, but a responsibility. From its founding, Israel has seen itself as more than a refuge for Jews. It's the living continuation of an ancient story, a return to the land that shaped their identity. Faith, even among the secular, is woven into the nation's psychology. The belief in purpose, in being part of something larger than oneself, drives the country forward when logic alone would suggest giving up. For many Israelis, the Bible isn't just a book of religion, it's a record of endurance. It tells of exile and return, despair and renewal, defeat and faith. Each generation reads its pages not as distant history, but as living memory. The same deserts where prophets once walked are now home to engineers, scientists, and farmers who see their work as a continuation of that story, a bridge between the spiritual and the practical. This connection between faith and action defines Israel's moral code. Defense is not seen merely as protection of borders, but as preservation of life, a sacred duty. Innovation is not only ambition, but a form of tikkun olam, a Jewish concept meaning repairing the world. From humanitarian technology to global medical aid, Israelis often frame progress as a moral act. In every field, there's an undertone of responsibility to create, to protect, to serve. That's why even under constant attack, Israel invests heavily in life-saving research, disaster relief, and medical innovation. It's a reflection of moral conviction that to build, to heal, and to educate are the highest forms of resilience. The moral fabric of the country isn't built on dominance, but on preservation and contribution. This moral compass also explains Israel's response to adversity. While enemies often aim to destroy, Israel responds by building hospitals after attacks, schools after wars, startups after sanctions. Creation itself becomes an act of defiance. The moral message is clear: destruction will never have the final word. Faith also manifests in national rituals, Shabbat dinners shared across generations, remembrance ceremonies for fallen soldiers, songs sung during moments of loss and unity. These rituals remind Israelis that their strength comes from identity, not ideology, from connection, not conformity. It's this deep sense of purpose that allows Israel to endure global hostility with focus rather than despair. The people draw confidence not from public approval, but from moral conviction, the belief that survival is tied to responsibility, and that resilience without ethics is hollow. In the end, faith gives Israel something no enemy can take away: the certainty that their struggle has meaning. And that belief, more than any weapon or technology, is what keeps the nation unbreakable. Education and the culture of critical thinking, training the mind for resilience. If Israel's defense is built in the army, its future is built in the classroom. Education in Israel isn't just about academics, it's about mindset. From kindergarten to university, Israeli children are taught to question, to argue, and to think for themselves. Curiosity is not seen as rebellion, it's a duty. This culture of debate is rooted in Jewish tradition. For centuries, the Talmud, a vast collection of legal and moral discussions, has trained generations to dissect ideas, challenge assumptions, and seek truth through dialogue. That habit of questioning authority became the foundation of Israel's intellectual resilience. It taught people that disagreement sharpens understanding, and that truth is never found through silence. In Israeli classrooms, students don't just memorize, they challenge teachers, propose alternatives, and learn to defend their ideas. The goal isn't obedience, it's adaptability. Because in a country that faces constant change, mental flexibility is as vital as physical defense. Teachers encourage independent thinking because survival often depends on it. That same energy fuels Israel's innovation scene. Startups emerge from this atmosphere of intellectual tension, where ideas collide, refine, and evolve quickly. Entrepreneurs aren't afraid to fail because they were raised to see failure as part of learning, not the end of it. This mindset, a blend of humility and boldness, is one of Israel's greatest exports.
Education also reinforces resilience on a social level. Schools emphasize collective responsibility. Students visit historical sites, volunteer in communities, and learn the story of Israel's struggles and triumphs. They grow up understanding that knowledge without purpose is hollow, and that intelligence carries moral weight. Even military education reflects this philosophy. In elite units, soldiers are encouraged to question tactics and propose new methods. Commanders know that innovation comes from initiative, not blind obedience. The result is a defense system that thinks creatively and adapts faster than its adversaries. The Israeli education model isn't perfect. It's noisy, competitive, and sometimes chaotic. But that chaos mirrors the country itself, dynamic, restless, and deeply alive. Out of that energy comes resilience, a mental toughness rooted not in rigidity, but in curiosity. And in times of crisis, this habit of thinking critically pays off. Whether developing new technologies during wartime or reimagining agriculture in drought, Israelis are trained to see every limitation as an invitation to think differently. Israel's greatest resource is not oil or land, it's the cultivated mind. A population trained to question, imagine, and adapt can survive anything. Education in Israel is not just preparation for life, it is life itself, the continuous training of the mind to endure, to evolve, and to overcome.
Community and collective responsibility. The power of connection in crisis. In Israel, survival isn't an individual pursuit, it's a collective one. The nation's strength emerges from tightly knit communities where everyone's actions ripple outward, affecting neighbors, families, and even strangers. This social cohesion is more than culture, it is strategy. From small towns to bustling cities, Israelis understand that crises require cooperation. Air raid sirens, rocket attacks, and natural disasters don't just test infrastructure, they test human networks. And in these moments, communities become lifelines. People open their homes to those displaced, share resources, and provide immediate care. Trust and coordination are instinctive because decades of experience have made them essential. The kibbutz system, Israel's collective agricultural settlement, exemplifies this mindset. Originally founded to cultivate the land under harsh conditions, kibbutzim rely on shared responsibility. Work, resources, and rewards are communal. Children are raised with the understanding that individual well-being is inseparable from the group's survival. This philosophy extends beyond agriculture, shaping the national consciousness. No one survives alone, and every action carries weight. Even in urban centers, these principles persist. Neighborhood committees organize emergency drills, check on vulnerable residents, and coordinate aid during crises. Citizens are trained to act without waiting for instruction, because in Israel, preparation and initiative are moral imperatives. The society operates as a living network, where individual vigilance multiplies collective resilience. This culture of shared responsibility also amplifies Israel's innovation. Communities and organizations collaborate to solve pressing problems, from water scarcity to cybersecurity. Ideas spread quickly because networks are dense, communication is direct, and trust is high. When survival is a collective concern, innovation becomes a collective project. Furthermore, collective responsibility shapes Israel's approach to defense. Civilian readiness complements military strength. Civil defense drills, underground shelters, and rapid evacuation systems are not abstract policies. They are routines practiced and internalized from childhood. Each citizen becomes a node in a national safety network, capable of responding swiftly under pressure. Crises also reinforce moral cohesion. During conflicts, Israelis consistently demonstrate empathy and solidarity, even toward strangers. Volunteers staff hospitals, aid displaced families, and organize relief efforts. Acts of kindness are strategic as much as ethical. The society functions because every member participates in sustaining the whole. This balance of independence and interdependence is delicate but powerful. Israelis are taught to think critically and act boldly, yet always with the understanding that their choices affect others. Responsibility is not optional. It is embedded into daily life and national identity. In the face of anti-Israel sentiment abroad or direct threats at home, this communal framework is Israel's hidden strength. While external forces may underestimate the country, the internal cohesion ensures rapid adaptation, moral clarity, and practical resilience. The nation's survival depends on both individual initiative and collective action, a duality that creates an almost unmatched capacity to endure and innovate. Israel's communities are proof that resilience is social as much as mental. Discipline, creativity, and courage matter, but the bonds between people transform them into lasting strength. Alone, challenges may overwhelm. Together, they become opportunities to survive, adapt, and thrive. From defense to diplomacy, strategic thinking as a national habit. Israel's strength is not measured only by its armies or technologies. It is measured by its ability to think strategically in every sphere of life. From the battlefield to the negotiating table, the nation applies the same mental discipline that has guided survival for generations. Strategy is ingrained in daily habits, education, and culture. It is second nature. Every Israeli learns early that resources are limited and threats are constant. This necessity cultivates foresight. Decisions are rarely reactive, they are calculated, anticipating multiple scenarios. Whether designing urban infrastructure, developing cybersecurity systems, or planning military operations, Israelis train to think several moves ahead. The goal is not just to survive a challenge, but to turn it into advantage. The military exemplifies this mindset. Israel does not rely on sheer numbers. It relies on intelligence, technology, and creative tactics. Operations are planned meticulously, contingencies mapped, and innovation encouraged at every level. Commanders empower soldiers to improvise when circumstances change. Risk is managed, but boldness is rewarded. This philosophy extends far beyond the army. In diplomacy, Israel applies similar principles. Surrounded by hostile neighbors and often facing international criticism, the nation leverages alliances, innovation, and negotiation to secure its interests. Every decision, from trade agreements to peace treaties, is influenced by the same mindset that drives startups and defense projects: anticipate, adapt, and act decisively. Israel rarely accepts obstacles as immovable. It reframes them as problems to solve.
This strategic thinking is rooted in moral clarity. Unlike nations driven solely by power, Israel's calculations are guided by survival, ethical responsibility, and long-term sustainability. Every diplomatic move, every technological innovation, and every military maneuver is shaped not by ego, but by necessity and consequence. In a hostile environment, strategy is inseparable from values. Israel's approach to intelligence and information gathering also reflects this mental rigor. From early warning systems to cybersecurity initiatives, the nation treats knowledge as a form of protection. Accurate, timely insight allows Israel to act before threats escalate, turning defense into preemptive advantage. Every citizen contributes indirectly through participation, awareness, and innovation. Moreover, Israel cultivates a culture of learning from mistakes. Failures are dissected, analyzed, and converted into future success. This is not punishment, it is practical resilience. Each setback sharpens the collective mind, ensuring that knowledge accumulates across generations. In this way, Israel's strategic thinking becomes a living, evolving system, rather than a static plan. Even economic and technological decisions follow this habit of strategic foresight. Startups prioritize scalable solutions, resource efficiency, and global impact, reflecting the same pattern of thinking that guides military and diplomatic planning. Innovation is not random, it is tactical, deliberate, and aligned with national purpose. In essence, Israel's mental edge lies in its ability to integrate defense, diplomacy, and development into a unified approach. Every action is connected to survival, innovation, and moral responsibility. It is this integration, thinking strategically at all levels, from individuals to institutions, that allows Israel to outmaneuver challenges, defend its people, and maintain its sovereignty against overwhelming odds. Global perception and psychological resilience, standing strong against anti-Israel forces. Israel faces not only physical threats, but constant global scrutiny. Anti-Israel campaigns, boycotts, and political pressure are part of the modern battlefield. For many nations, this could erode morale and stability. For Israel, it has become a catalyst, an opportunity to strengthen internal cohesion and sharpen mental resilience. The secret lies in perspective. Israelis are taught to separate criticism from reality, propaganda from action. They understand that external pressure can influence opinions, but it cannot dictate survival. The nation's focus remains internal, safeguarding citizens, advancing innovation, and cultivating unity. Global criticism becomes background noise against a clear national purpose. This psychological resilience is reinforced by history. Centuries of exile and persecution taught Jewish communities that external narratives are often hostile or misleading. The lesson carried into modern Israel: don't rely on recognition for validation, rely on results. Survival, innovation, and moral responsibility are the measures of strength, not approval from others. Israel also turns external hostility into strategic advantage. Criticism often drives introspection and improvement. When nations attack Israel diplomatically or economically, the country responds by doubling down on innovation, self-sufficiency, and global engagement. Technology, agriculture, and defense industries thrive because constraints force creativity. Scarcity, whether in resources, allies, or legitimacy, becomes a springboard for solutions. The population internalizes this mindset from childhood. Citizens grow up knowing the world may misunderstand or oppose them, but they also learn that preparedness, courage, and solidarity matter more than public opinion. This awareness cultivates psychological toughness. People act decisively, even under pressure, because they trust in their skills, community, and institutions. Military, education, and civil society reinforce the same principle. Resilience is built collectively and mentally. Communities train for emergencies, schools emphasize problem-solving, and workplaces reward initiative and accountability. Israelis learned that criticism cannot stop action. Action sustains survival. Global perception also strengthens national identity. Hostility abroad often galvanizes unity at home. Disputes over legitimacy, borders, or policies sharpen the sense of shared destiny. Citizens rally around a common purpose: to maintain sovereignty, protect lives, and continue building a nation that reflects their collective values. Even international partnerships and diplomacy are influenced by this mindset. Israel approaches alliances pragmatically, leveraging networks of support without assuming unconditional goodwill. Every relationship is evaluated strategically, every action intentional, ensuring that external challenges never compromise internal resilience. Ultimately, Israel's strength against anti-Israel forces is psychological as much as physical. The nation has cultivated the ability to endure criticism, adapt to isolation, and maintain cohesion under pressure. Its people act decisively, innovate relentlessly, and stand united, not because opposition is ignored, but because they have trained their minds and hearts to prioritize survival, purpose, and moral responsibility above all else. This mental framework, forged in history, reinforced through education, culture, and military discipline, allows Israel to thrive even in adversity. Criticism becomes context, pressure becomes opportunity, and opposition becomes a mirror, reflecting the need for continual growth and vigilance. Innovation in action, technology, defense, and problem-solving under pressure. Israel's mental framework, resilience, discipline, unity, and purpose is not abstract. It manifests daily in technology, defense, and problem-solving under pressure. The country turns scarcity, threat, and isolation into a relentless engine for practical innovation. Consider the Iron Dome missile defense system. It wasn't born from abundance or ease. It was born from urgency. Rockets threatened civilian lives daily, and conventional defense was insufficient. Israeli engineers and military planners collaborated under extreme pressure, using limited resources to invent a solution that saves countless lives. The system exemplifies the nation's signature approach. Necessity drives innovation, and every problem demands immediate, creative action. Drip irrigation offers another example. Israel's desert landscape posed challenges for agriculture. Yet the country became a world leader in water-efficient farming. Engineers developed technology that allows precise watering, minimizing waste while maximizing yield. Again, survival shaped invention. The arid environment forced creativity, turning limitation into global leadership. Startups thrive under the same philosophy. Israel boasts more startups per capita than any other country. Entrepreneurs often come from military units where improvisation and rapid decision-making are mandatory. Skills honed in life and death scenarios translate seamlessly to civilian industries. Failure is expected and reframed as a lesson, a mindset that allows experimentation at high speed, producing breakthroughs in cybersecurity, biotech, and artificial intelligence.
Defense innovation extends beyond technology. Israel's strategic thinking, taught in the army and reinforced in civil society, ensures that tactics are adaptive. Operations like the Entebbe hostage rescue or intelligence missions rely on meticulous planning paired with the flexibility to improvise when conditions change. Success under extreme uncertainty reflects not luck but cultivated mental resilience. Medical innovation follows the same pattern. Hospitals, research centers, and biotech companies develop solutions for both domestic and global challenges. COVID-19 response, emergency care systems, and telemedicine reflect Israel's capacity to act quickly under pressure, integrating technology with social responsibility. Creativity here is survival-driven, yet always with ethical purpose. Even in civilian life, the mentality shapes problem-solving. Cities manage water scarcity, energy, and traffic with inventive solutions. Education, agriculture, and industry all reflect the same principle. Limitations are opportunities to think differently, act decisively, and produce results with maximum impact. This combination of mental discipline, moral clarity, and collective responsibility ensures that Israel remains agile. It's a culture where innovation is inseparable from necessity, and every challenge becomes a test of intellect, resilience, and ethical judgment. Problems are never insurmountable. They are invitations to invent, adapt, and overcome. Israel's global influence, whether through technology, humanitarian aid, or defense expertise, is rooted in this lived mentality. The nation's ability to thrive under extreme pressure is proof that strength is not measured only in resources or territory, but in the cultivated mindset of a people who refuse to surrender to circumstance. The secret mentality behind Israel's continued success. What truly sets Israel apart is not its geography, population size, or military equipment. It is a mentality, a cultivated, disciplined, and morally grounded mindset that has been passed down through generations. This secret mentality is the invisible engine behind every triumph, every innovation, and every survival story. At its core, this mentality is built on three intertwined pillars: resilience, creativity, and moral responsibility. Resilience allows the nation to endure attacks, criticism, and scarcity without faltering. Creativity transforms every limitation into an opportunity for invention and growth. Moral responsibility ensures that every action, whether in war, diplomacy, or daily life, carries purpose and meaning beyond mere survival. The resilience of Israel is forged through history. Centuries of exile and persecution instilled a survival instinct that is both personal and collective. Citizens grow up aware that survival requires vigilance, adaptability, and courage. The memory of loss is never abstract. It is a lived lesson, reinforcing the importance of preparedness, unity, and action. Creativity, born from scarcity and necessity, permeates all aspects of Israeli life. In technology, agriculture, medicine, and defense, limitations have become catalysts. The ability to improvise, to solve problems quickly under pressure, and to think unconventionally defines the Israeli approach to challenges. Innovation is not optional, it is survival itself. Moral responsibility ties these traits together. Israelis are not only taught to endure and innovate, but to act with purpose.
Defense is not only about winning battles, it is about preserving life. Innovation is not only about profit, it is about improving society and protecting the nation. Collective responsibility ensures that individual actions contribute to the welfare of the community. This ethical framework strengthens cohesion, even under extreme pressure. Education, military service, and community life reinforce these pillars. Schools encourage critical thinking, debate, and adaptability. Military training instills discipline, initiative, and teamwork. Communities cultivate trust, empathy, and shared responsibility. These systems interlock to form a society capable of rapid adaptation and decisive action. Israel's mentality also thrives on psychological clarity. Citizens understand that global perception, criticism, or hostility cannot dictate survival. External opposition becomes context rather than constraint. The nation focuses on what it can control: preparation, innovation, and moral action. This psychological independence allows Israel to remain agile, confident, and united. The result is a nation that can face threats on multiple fronts: military, economic, and diplomatic, while continuing to innovate, grow, and contribute globally. Every rocket intercepted, every startup launched, every life saved reflects this mindset. Strength is not measured merely by power, but by the ability to act decisively, ethically, and creatively in the face of adversity. Israel's secret mentality, forged from history, culture, and purpose, is what sustains its survival and drives its success. It is a living example of how a people can endure, adapt, and innovate through discipline, moral clarity, and shared responsibility. It proves that the greatest weapon a nation can possess is not its arsenal, but the cultivated mind and spirit of its citizens. Conclusion and reflection: lessons from Israel's mentality for the world. Israel's story is not simply one of survival. It is a story of purpose, ingenuity, and moral strength. From the deserts of the Negev to the corridors of Silicon Valley, the nation demonstrates that adversity, when met with the right mentality, becomes the greatest teacher. The lessons embedded in Israel's experience are universal, applicable not only to nations but to individuals, organizations, and communities worldwide. The first lesson is the power of resilience. Israel shows that survival is not passive endurance, but active preparation and adaptation. Challenges are inevitable, yet they are also opportunities to grow stronger. By cultivating a culture that anticipates threats, learns from failures, and persists under pressure, Israel has turned vulnerability into strength. Second is the fusion of creativity and necessity. Scarcity, limitation, and urgency drive innovation. When life is at stake, thinking differently is no longer optional, it is essential. Israel teaches that constraints are catalysts, pushing minds to find solutions that might never emerge in comfort. Innovation is not just an economic or technological pursuit, it is a moral and practical necessity. Third, Israel demonstrates the importance of moral responsibility in building lasting strength. Discipline, respect, and accountability are inseparable from success. Power without purpose is fragile. By instilling a sense of ethical duty in education, military service, and community life, Israel ensures that resilience and creativity serve a higher purpose: protection of life, advancement of society, and contribution to humanity.
Fourth is the value of unity without uniformity. A society can encourage debate, dissent, and diversity, yet remain cohesive when it matters most. Israelis argue loudly, challenge each other constantly, and disagree openly. Yet when the nation faces crisis, the same people act collectively, demonstrating a rare social resilience. This balance of individuality and collective responsibility amplifies effectiveness in both innovation and defense. Finally, Israel teaches the power of psychological independence. External criticism, hostility, or isolation cannot dictate the nation's choices. The focus is internal, on preparation, competence, and ethical action. By cultivating mental clarity and confidence in their shared purpose, Israelis ensure that the pressures of the outside world become context, not limitation. The cumulative effect of these lessons is profound. Israel has survived against overwhelming odds, thrived under constant threat, and produced innovations that benefit humanity globally. Its secret is not technology or wealth, but a mindset, one that integrates resilience, creativity, morality, and unity into daily life, institutions, and culture. For the world, Israel's example is a reminder. True strength comes from the disciplined cultivation of character, intellect, and purpose. Challenges are inevitable, resources may be scarce, and opposition may be relentless. Yet by building resilience, fostering creativity, embracing moral responsibility, and acting collectively, any society or individual can turn adversity into opportunity. Israel's story is ultimately one of the human spirit. It shows that survival and success are inseparable from mindset. Adversity tests not only what a people have, but who they are. And when a nation aligns purpose, discipline, innovation, and moral clarity, it does more than endure. It inspires the world. This is the secret mentality behind Israel's strength and innovation, a living framework of resilience, unity, creativity, and ethical responsibility that turns threats into triumphs, scarcity into breakthroughs, and history into a guide for the future. Thanks for watching. If Israel's story of strength and innovation inspired you, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear which lesson resonates most with you. Hit like if you feel motivated to turn challenges into opportunities, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to explore more stories that show how mindset, courage, and purpose shape the world. Let's learn and grow together.